Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror series coming from Scott Cawthon and Scott Game. However, sometimes things about these games hit people where it hurts, even if it's not intentional. And while they're supposed to be scary, they weren't supposed to be scary in these ways. Because while jump scares will get me, these fears will take you by surprise. We've talked about this before, but today we're going in depth with the latest release because Phobia's FNAF security breach will trigger is what we're exploring today. And at 10, Electoral Phobia. Some people say that Chica is sexy, and I mean like whatever you want to like, even if she's my girl. But the fact that there is a legit main character based on a chicken doesn't help those with Electoral Phobia, which is the fear of chickens, unless these people are able to convince themselves that she is a duck. Yeah, if you can't though, Kentucky will no doubt be the scariest part of the game franchise, especially this game. And honestly, I don't know if Nightmare Chica would be better or worse in this scenario, but at least she doesn't show up in this game. I mean, she does indeed look less like a chicken, but she is specifically designed to be even more nightmarish than her other versions. So only those with this phobia can really know. And if you have this fear, please tell me in the comments which version of Chica is the scariest to you. Like, and let me know if Mermaid Chica is scary to you, because it's technically a mermaid, but it's also a chicken. Like, I don't know the rules on this sort of thing. Well, like, even if it is an exception, Glamrock Chica won't help you with this one, especially after you've destroyed her and she looks even worse for wear. And at 9, Cawthon. Unless you are instantly a pro at power management and strategy and hiding, you will fail at least once during this game, whether it's due to you missing a corner or an animatronic checking your hiding spot, or just staring and trying to see Roxy, because that happened to me in a previous video. The animatronics will get you at least once. While the whole build up to your inevitable demise is crazy and definitely one of the scarier parts of the game, the jump scare when you least expect it is the worst. However, if you have Phonophobia, the fear of failing, you will be even more terrified before and after the fact. The fear of failing can manifest in multiple different ways, usually associated with an attempt to get someone's approval but never succeeding. However, it ends up putting a real strain on your life in that while yes, we all want to succeed, failing is okay for us because we won't collapse on the ground or have a panic attack just because we got jump scared. Most of the time. And at 8, Pyrophobia. Look, I literally have like the opposite of this fear because I love fire, but those with Pyrophobia are terrified of it. And I mean, like, fire is a fair fear, considering how it can destroy everything, and if left uncontrolled it will ruin the universe and everything in it, kinda like FNAF. But in all honesty, while fire may not have been directly in the game's previous, if you play like Pizzeria Simulator or even like FNAF 3, this fear could still be triggered, considering how those both end with the establishment you work at going up in flames in an attempt to destroy Remnant. But it doesn't help that in FNAF 6, you're actually in the room where you're burning. But, haha, yeah, security breach, you get all of it all at once, because if you don't remember, you are, in this game, you are actually the one who activates the fire. You're the one who starts the fire. And on top of that, we are in the remains of the burnt down pizzeria from FNAF 6. Now, I'm not sure if charred and burnt buildings are also going to trigger this phobia, since a fire had happened there in the past. But like, if you have pyrophobia, let me know, although you may not be able to watch this just due to how hot I am now. But seriously, like, you start the fire in this game, you're in a burnt down pizzeria, when you actually defeat Burntrap, who is called Burntrap, might I add, everything is on fire during that final cutscene, so, yeah. And at 7, Claustrophobia. Now, being stuck in small spaces can sometimes get worrying to anyone, but to those with claustrophobia, especially severe cases, the mere thought of it can render you catatonic. And in this game, there are no shortage of small enclosed spaces, like the vents, which we have to go into literally at the beginning of the game, the slide, and various other areas in the daycare as well, not to mention the recharge stations, which you need to get in multiple times throughout the story, plus you literally hide inside an animatronic's stomach for a decent amount of the game. So needless to say, there are a lot of small spaces, but my question is, does this actually trigger claustrophobia? Or is it more of a like, since you're not in those spaces, you're fine in like your living room or wherever your computer is since it's open, and since you're seeing out of Freddy's eyes when you actually get inside of him, does that trigger it because you know your character is inside his 14-inch tall stomach, or not because it's just a game or because you're looking through his eyes? Please let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious, and I'm genuinely curious about all of these. I'm not curious enough to try to figure out how to spell genuinely correctly, but I am actually very curious about the phobias, just not about how to spell genuinely. And at 6, Entomophobia. Now, the fact that the doors open automatically in this game when you're next to them is one thing. It has scared me quite a few times. But for those with entomophobia, or the fear of doors, often associated with agoraphobia and claustrophobia, this would be even worse. Now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of doors in the Pizzaplex, but there are almost certainly more wheels. Anyway, with the amount of doors in this building that you would also have to go through by walking up to the door, I think that there would be quite a few issues for anyone with entomophobia. I don't quite know how rare this is, however, I feel like it would be quite rare, and I'm not sure how it would develop, but if anyone watching this actually has this fear, like not like jokingly, but like actually does, please let me know in the comments how it happened, because, well, at least if you're comfortable sharing that, because like there are so many doors in the world, but still more wheels, that I don't know how you could actually like even handle being afraid of them. It's weird, but it's interesting to me in a good way. I'm just a curious person, okay, but there are still more wheels. Team wheels. Halfway through into number 5, Phonophobia. Phonophobia is the fear of large sounds, which probably sucks because I feel like me saying phonophobia was pretty loud, which is also going to suck with the jump scares though. However, via some reports, this also constitutes a fear of voices at times, which will also suck considering how there is a lot of voice acting in this game, including voices without people connected to them, since Vanny really shows up on monitors more than she actually appears physically in the game. It's a whole deal that honestly they should have sorted out better, but either way, phonophobia is really going to cause this game to be unplayable in a sense, even more so than the fear of doors, since after all the game relies on loud sounds to jump scare you. With the game muted, it's not scary, so you just end up being tortured with loud sounds and voices that phonophobia is only going to make worse. And at 4, Papaphobia. If you happen to have Papaphobia, then FNAF 2 is going to be hell. With the mechanic added of winding a music box, you will constantly have to keep looking at your worst fear. Papaphobia, as I'm sure hopefully you can tell, is the fear of puppets. And considering how people may realize that there's also a minigame revolving around the puppet jump scare in FNAF 2, I'm sure you can see why FNAF would trigger this fairly common phobia. However, in Security Breach this may not be any different, aside from the whole music box thing, especially since the staff bots seem to be very close to the puppet and the mini arenas, or at least based off them in some way. I mean, some of them even look like the puppet specifically when they're the broken staff bots that we can encounter after destroying Chica, or just before the true ending, like, you know, the ones that are pretty much controlled by Vanny. Plus, the whole table that's meant to represent the Afton family is very much puppet oriented. It's crazy how much puppet imagery there is in this game, but like not only this game, just the series as a whole. Getting close to the end in number 3, Scopophobia. Scopophobia is really an issue for anyone playing this game, since it's not only a fear, but the actual reality. Scopophobia refers to people with a fear of being watched, and considering how Vanny is basically always watching you in this game via the cameras or just following you, causing your eyes to freak out, I think it's fairly safe to say that the game will cause scopophobia. Plus, I mean, since Vanny is underutilized in the game, the fear might even grow more. Like, what's the point in doing that if she isn't watching us the whole time, right? Not to mention the possibility of Afton watching us through the animatronics and the actual animatronics themselves. Well, aside from Roxy, that is, because, you know, we take her eyes, but like seriously, this game is full of people secretly watching you. And then we learn that Vanny has her own bedroom in the Pizzaplex over Phaser Blast with her own camera setup in there. Hell to the no. I don't like that one bit, and if I don't like it, I'm sure scopophobes won't like it either. Penultimately, in at number 2, Necrophobia. Phobia, okay? I'm saying Necrophobia, as in the fear of dead or dead things. And considering how this series is piled high with underage corpses and death analogies like no other series, if you're scared of death or the concept of it, you're probably in for a wild ride, with representations of death like Nightmare and Nightmarionette, plus the literal addition of a new dead kid every game. Death is all over the place in the Five Nights series. And in Security Breach, you literally fight against Afton's first actually dead form in the series. No way he's still considered alive when all that's left of him are some tendons, nerve endings, and a decomposing head. Like, Burn Trap is just sentient code at this point with no actual Afton left. At least, like, in a literal sense, since he actively turns into possessed code, but you know what I mean. And finally, in at number 1, one, Automataphobia. This is literally the phobia this game seems to have been made for. Like, sure, it wasn't actually the reason it was made, but seriously, this is the perfect fear for these games. Well, I guess imperfect fear. Because, while sure, the thought of mannequins can creep anyone out, especially if they're being brought to life in cheesy movies where they fall in love with the main protagonist and everyone judges him for it, the fact that Automataphobia is literally the fear of animatronics is surely the bread and butter to this series. While it's more so the fear of human-like figures like wax figures or mannequins, like I mentioned, or things like that, these animatronics are anthropomorphized versions of animals. So that seems to be enough to trigger this phobia. Plus, I looked up the fear of animatronics, and it really started shooting up in August of 2014 when the game first released, along with the search for animatronics and ways to stop being scared of animatronics. So these games even made people afraid of animatronics when they weren't before, or at least didn't know about it or acknowledge it beforehand. And this doesn't stop at Security Breach. It's the same thing, but this time you're free roaming, and you have to work with one of them and climb inside of it. You will absolutely despise this if you have Automataphobia, okay? So, sorry if you do. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been in Showerman Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video. Wait, if you have Automataphobia, why are you watching these videos? That makes no sense.